First thing I always say, instead of taking notes, you can record your screen for your own use, of course. It's maybe better than always pausing and typing or writing things down.
Okay, perfect.
And the second thing, don't worry about time. There's a goal for a session. I want to make something in a session, and it takes the time it takes. If you have questions, it doesn't take time away from a session. Time is not an issue. I don't even look at the clock. Okay?
Okay, great.
So let's play around a little bit. I have the trainer mode. You can practice. It's the same as playing. This is why I rather practice here where you see, but then too much playing online as well. What's your play with this hand?
And I'd probably raise. I wouldn't go all in. I'd probably raise 2.5. Yeah.
Yeah, you never open shove. This is very clear. You have one size per position. You went to 3x. In live games, you open a bit larger, which is okay. Online, against better opponents, the ideal sizes are min opens from earlier positions, and from the button and the small blind, you size up in position 2.5 here and out of position about 3x. I'll explain the reasons at some point. Right now, it's not important. So,
Okay.
So here, of course, either you fold or you open. This hand is strong enough to open?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, of course. Do you know what these EVs here mean?
Like it's expected value, like how much you would expect to earn if every time on average. That's what I understand.
Perfect. So on average, you win 0.16 of a big blind every time you open this hand. So how many big blinds per 100 hands are you winning with this hand in this spot every time you dealt and open?
16.
Good. So you see, this is a big EV mistake if for some reason you fold. Do you think your opponent needs to exploit you for this to be a problem if you fold? Or do you think you automatically making a mistake if you fold this hand and they don't even need to do anything for this to cost you money?
Sorry, can you repeat that? So like if they're trying to exploit me, like...
Sorry. Yeah, I can rephrase better. Let's say you folded this hand instead of opening. You weren't sure. I'm not saying you weren't sure, but let's assume you weren't sure. You folded this hand. Would this immediately impact your win rate, reduce your win rate, or would your opponents need to exploit the fact that you folded this hand in order for this to be bad? Or doesn't it matter what they do? It is very bad to fold this hand.
I think if I folded it, it would impact my win rate negatively. Yeah.
If you fold this hand, it is immediately a negative impact on your win rate. Whenever you see clear EV differences, this is something that you just chuck EV to the bin. You just lose EV, you reduce your win rate. So you must never make considerable EV mistakes. There are some spots on the river that in practice, people's ranges are different than in GTO. And
okay.
He calls, this is the board. He checks to you. First question, do you think this check conveys any information? You mentioned something like it's good to be in position because you have information on your opponent. Does this check give you anything or nothing at all?
I think it tells me that he's probably weaker, especially since he's in the big blind. And I would say he probably doesn't have anything right now and probably doesn't pair with the board well.
Is this a guess or are you confident in what you say? So how sure are you that what you just said is correct?
I feel pretty confident.
Okay. So let me ask you this. If you had King 10 offsuit and you were the big blind, you called pre-flop with King 10 offsuit, and this is the board. What do you do with King 10 offsuit?
It might be good to trap, to display some weakness so that the button would raise.
Okay. Now we are inverting the situation. You're the big blind and button open raised. What's your play here with this hand? He open raised, you called, and this is the flop, and you're the first to act. What do you do?
Well, with this hand, I would probably raise.
terminology. Raise is after, and you did that in the video as well. Raise is, at least nowadays online, I'm not sure how people talk live in a casino, but at least the professional online player never says raise here. You say raise after someone bets. So let's say he bets and you want to raise. But if you're the first one to bet, you just say bet. Either you check or you bet or you lead or whatever. But a raise is someone bets on one street and you make it larger and the same. Then you talk about raises.
Okay, that's
so. Would you bet or would you check?
I would bet.
Okay. Look what GTO is saying. Mostly check.
To check, okay.
And now, what would you do with this hand? Same spot. You called the big blind, and now it's your turn to act on this flop.
Oh, I feel like I should check here.
Okay. It is a check. What should you do here?
I feel like that's also a check.
Okay. What do you think I'm getting at? What should you do here?
Check.
Okay.
A lot of checking.
What should you do here?
Check.
Okay. What should you do here?
Check again.
Okay. So how much info does this check convey? Does it give you a lot of info?
Almost none, seems like.
Have you ever heard of the term donk bet?
Donk bet? I haven't.
A donk bet is what people call a bet that someone makes after calling on the previous street. This guy called pre-flop to your raise pre-flop. He called. Then after you call on the previous street pre-flop, you typically check to the aggressor. You don't just start betting into someone who raised. Why am I saying raise and not bet pre-flop? Even though I just told you the first one to bet is bet. It's because given the blinds are posted, the first one to act, you say raise and not bet because there were the blinds already. But on the flop, he bets and not he raises on the flop. So here, he doesn't bet, he checks to you because he calls pre-flop. If he calls on the flop, let's say you c-bet this. Have you heard of a c-bet?
Yeah, like bet again after you bet last time on the last street.
Exactly. Next hand. What are we doing here?
I'd probably fold that one, I think.
Okay. Look what happens. You have a clear EV mistake.
Oh, yeah.
So he doesn't need to exploit you by open more. He doesn't need to do anything for you to just be chucking win rate into the bin. This must not happen. I'm not blaming you now, no problem. Don't worry, I'm not expecting you to already. Right. But this must not happen in the long run if your goal is to be a good player. So 3 months, 6 months from now, if you make these mistakes, you can't call yourself a professional player. But your goal is to get there. You are not already there, so no problem. But just be aware, I'm pointing out what mistakes are acceptable, because even professional players make mistakes, and what mistakes are not acceptable. This would not be an acceptable mistake. So the first task I'm going to give you, we'll do a few more of this, but just the first task, all you've got to do is here. Then I proceeded to explain my student his first homework. The coaching session, as you can see here, lasted about 3 hours, so I think this is a bit too long to upload all on YouTube, so I'll cut it here. But the reason I uploaded this is so you can see my approach. It doesn't matter which your level is, I'll dedicate the session tailored to you. And I thought this one is particularly nice for YouTube because, of course, this player is in the beginning of his career or in the beginning of taking this game seriously, so everyone on YouTube can understand and follow. But for coaching, it doesn't matter which your current level is. From the first session onwards, everything will be tailored to you, so it will be useful for you. And what I can promise is that I'm going to dedicate a lot to help you improve. If you're interested, my contact is here in the comments. Talk to you then.